He had zero experience in the liquor industry and no background as a food scientist. He had no connections and had never worked in a bar, restaurant, or distillery. What did he have? Oh my gosh, he had an abundance of audacity, passion, and the ideal mentor who helped him quickly build the social capital and liquor industry knowledge he needed to launch a liquor brand. Oh my gosh, our guest will leave you so inspired and with a deeper level of commitment and determination for your startup journey. Stay tuned for the Startup Life Live show. Let's glow, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after I've raised 4 businesses, 1, 2, 3, 4, oh yeah, I have a really good idea of what you're getting through, crawling through, waking up to every single day. I mean, sometimes in the morning you're going, pop that champagne. We're amazing. We're winners. And of course, a few hours later, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then at the end of the day, you can be like, whew, 8 hours later, and we're rocking it again. It's an amazing journey. And that's why I'm so grateful that you carved out time to tune in and up your founder game, because as you do better, that's right, your startup will do better. A big yoo-hoo to the live viewers, replay viewers, and a mwah to the podcast listeners. I'm so delighted you're here and joining in on this delicious conversation with this extraordinary guest. Wherever you're watching, if it's video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you are on YouTube, I would be so grateful for your subscribe love and a click on that thumbs up button. That would be so wonderful. And how do you know when I post a new show? Well, you hop on over and join the Startup Life Live meetup group. Links are in the show notes. You can scan that QR code. And this way you'll get a deep dive on each of my guests, because I go live on Tuesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. ET. And I'm sure there's a founder that you could learn from for your startup journey. And for those of you who do tune in on the podcast, I would be so grateful for a subscribe and a review or a 5 stars, whatever you feel called to give. I'd be so grateful for that. I want to, excuse me, I have some Ande-licious advice here for women business owners. Let's talk about that WeBank certificate. Whether your business is manufacturing, construction, electronics, robotics, AI, or goods and services, there are growth and revenue opportunities you're missing by not becoming certified as a woman-owned business. It's a terrific way to promote your company to major corporations and government contracts that are actually actively seeking to conduct business with a woman-owned enterprise. I have helped dozens of female-owned businesses fill out their application and get across the finish line, whether they were with zero revenue or to longstanding businesses with over 80 million in revenue. So shoot me an email, Ande@AndeLyons.com, to learn more about how I can help you. Here's some Ande-licious advice for you founders in your founder journey that I think you might enjoy. Here's the scoop, founders. You face so many obstacles on your journey, from implicit bias to hiring the wrong team member to supply chain hiccups to having your bank go under. Who could forecast that? Instead of shaking your fist at these obstacles and disasters, take a moment to embrace them. Here's why. Challenges reveal your brilliance. Without them, you will never discover the depth of your capabilities, nor the sense of rich fulfillment these discoveries provide. And I'm not saying you poo-poo the tough times, because hello, hashtag, the struggle is real for startups, right? But take a moment right now to remember the last disaster and obstacle you got through and what you learned about yourself. See what I mean? That's right. Challenges up your founder game, deepen your personal development, and reveal your brilliance. So keep going, founders. You've got this. All right, let me introduce you to our amazing guest today. It's the so phenomenal Jackie Summers. After 623 failed attempts, Jackie was able to create the first ever shelf-stable version of a 500-year-old beverage he called Sorel, an hibiscus flavored Caribbean classic handcrafted artisanal liqueur. In 2016, however, after 4 years of delivering this delicious product everywhere, Jackie was unable to keep up with demand and had to put Jack from Brooklyn on hold. But he never lost sight of his dream and relaunched the brand in 2021, partnering with America's oldest distiller, Laird Company, where he can produce thousands of bottles of Sorel. Oh my gosh, this is such a good story. Jackie is a James Beard finalist, a seasoned public speaker, and has many accolades to his credit, including being ranked among the world's 100 most influential bar industry figures by Drinks International magazine for 4 years in a row. Let's welcome Jackie to the show. Woohoo, Jackie Summers!
Wait, Andy, I gotta tell you, I'm just listening to your intro. I'm so inspired. I was like, oh my God, like this is infectious. I can't wait to read what her gets to say. It was like, oh shit, that's me.
Oh wait, that's me she's talking about.
Oh yeah. Hi.
Hi. Well, it's obvious where you're hailing because it says Jack from Brooklyn right there. Dun, 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 dun. So we are so excited for this conversation with you, Jackie, because, every founder, you heard my Andelicious advice in the beginning, obstacles, we can either be afraid of them or we can say, bring them on, because they challenge us and they put us into a place where we can have a deeper appreciation of who we are. And you had a huge challenge that happened to you before you launched your business. Can you share that story with us a little bit?
Before we do that, I'm going to tell you that 10 years ago, Entrepreneur Magazine gave me one of the 10 best quotes of the year. And the quote was, the key to our success is we choose one insurmountable thing a day and surmount the hell out of it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm getting a feeling, folks, that we're going to see a lot of this today. Stitch that on a pillow.
Okay. So,
thing, and insurmount did I say the out of it?
Yeah, it's okay. All good. So, insurmountable obstacles. In 2010, my doctor found a tumor the size of a golf ball inside my spine. He said, you have a 95% chance of death and a 50% chance of paralysis if you live. You should organize your paperwork. Yeah, that's a phrase that gets your attention. Go organize your paperwork.
Get your affairs in order. Oh, Jackie, did your heart stop? What happened?
Truthfully, I consented to the surgery, and then it didn't make sense. I went on vacation. Me and 9 friends in a beach house in Cancun, and just great food and shopping us full of alcohol. One of the best vacations I've ever had in my life, and it changed my life because one morning before everyone else's hungover had been shaken off, I decided I wanted to have a sunrise walk on the beach because I thought I was going to die. And I didn't know if I was ever going to get the opportunity to walk on the beach and see the sunrise again. So I grabbed a bottle of mezcal, kicked off my shoes, 6 a.m. in the morning. I'm walking down the beach, watching the sunrise over the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm drinking mezcal out of the bottle, and I'm talking to death. And she had interesting things to say. But the thing that I remember, the thing that stuck with me was, she said, Jack, I don't know why this has you so freaked out. It's not the first time. I've come for you. This is just the first time you're paying attention. And you can't argue with her because she's always right and she bears no malice. But again, it's not the first time if I think about it. I've been in a catastrophic car accident. I've almost drowned twice. I've been shot. This is at least my 5th go around that I'm aware of. So how did I feel?
In this lifetime.
Andy, I'll tell you
that with 9 lives.
I'll tell you, I was calm like Hindu cows because I knew for a fact that I was going to die.
Oh my gosh, you were at peace with that. You're like, I got a 5% chance to live. I'm just going to enjoy the last few breaths.
It's so liberating.
Oh, it must be.
Knowing that you're going to die. The people I loved knew I loved them. The people I couldn't stand knew I couldn't stand them. My work here is done. And the beautiful part about that experience, having lived through it, is you don't unmake that peace. I know I'm going to die. I'm hoping it's decades from now. I'm not asking for it. But if it happens today, like, am I good with it? You know, do the
Wow.
people I love know I love them? Do the people I can't stand know I can't stand them? Is my work in a place where if I'm not around tomorrow, someone else can just pick up where I left off? Like, did I
Right.
make the mountain higher? Because if I did, then every day is a good day. And
That's right.
if I can end every day like that, uh, then it doesn't matter when, because it's going to happen, and I'm okay with that. But that's what got me out of corporate America.
That's what, Life said he's never going to leave unless we give him a life-threatening diagnosis. And so how did you become part of the 5%? And yes, Richard O, podcast host extraordinaire, calm like Hindu cows, stitch that on a pillow for sure.
Yeah.
How did the diagnosis get turned around?
So my tumor was benign, 5% chance of survival, and I got it. And I was standing the next day, and I went into work the next week because this is America. And of course, after having spinal surgery, you're actually back at work in a week. I went in convinced I was going to quit, and before I got up my yap, they offered me a package. I didn't even read the paperwork, Andy. I signed as quickly as I could. I cleaned out my desk. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I walked to the first bar and started texting my friends, suddenly unemployed, come drink. And from about 11 o'clock in the morning till about 7 o'clock at night, I had friends wandering in and out of this bar to have a drink with me. And I thought to myself, why don't I do this every day of my life? Like, how can I make day drinking a profession? I know what I'll do. I'll launch a liquor brand. And that's how we got.
Oh my gosh. I mean, seriously, folks.
True
That's one of
story.
the best. That's really one of the best. How did you start, your business and become an entrepreneur? Well, then come on, I'm
Sounds like
gonna
this
live
bar.
and drink, and then how do I? Oh my gosh, Jackie,
So
that's amazing.
here's the beauty of that. I had been making a Caribbean delicacy in my kitchen for decades. If you go to the Caribbean, they have a beverage that they call sorrel, Sorrel. It's based in hibiscus flowers. It has deep African traditions.
Yeah.
It's the reason almost all of the Afro-Caribbean diaspora has an almost epigenetic memory of what they call the red drink. I was making a version of this in my kitchen. And I thought to myself, why has no one ever put this into a bottle before? And so, not having a background in food science and not having any knowledge of the liquor industry, I told myself I'm going to be the first person to take this beverage and make it into a shelf-stable product and market it commercially. Because I'm uniquely broken in that I don't know what I can't do.
Right. Oh my God. I'm uniquely broken in that I don't know what I can't do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is just like, I love that quote, something fierce. I'm writing that down, quote, at 14 minutes into the conversation. Oh my gosh, one after another. But share with folks why that combination of Caribbean and African is so important to you.
So if you went back thousands of years, Africans were using hibiscus flowers for medicinal purposes. It's got more vitamin C than most citrus fruits. It's full of antioxidants, it's full of antimicrobials, it's a natural antifungal, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's a natural aphrodisiac.
Ooh, ooh. Okay, there
And
we go. It's going to
and
fly
this
up the
was
shelves
part
now.
of ceremony and tradition.
Yeah.
And then you flash forward 500 years and the transatlantic trade starts. And now bodies and spices are being stolen from Africa, shipped across the oceans to be sold as goods in ports of trade in the Caribbean. So the knowledge of what this flower can do travels in the hearts and minds of the enslaved Africans. And despite the fact that they tried to destroy these people, they took their names away, they broke up families, they beat and raped them, they forced them into a life of servitude, they made them speak another tongue and practice another religion. They took everything from these people. And somehow, this tradition of the red drink, it survives. It defies all odds. It's being made by people who only know how to make it because there are no recipes. Because it was illegal for enslaved Africans to read or write. If you didn't have a mother or a grandmother who taught you how to do this, you didn't know how to do this. So this tradition was kept alive in defiance of everything trying to destroy culture.
That is so beautiful and brings an even deeper purpose to your having been called to be the one to have this 600 plus failed recipe attempts while you figured out a shelf stable product that can be bottled.
The beauty of all of this, Andy, is none of it's about me. It's not my story.
That's right.
I understand that I am in a very particular point in time. Things happen before me, things will happen after me. It's just my job to do this part and play this role and move the storyline forward and draw as many people into the narrative as I can while I'm doing it. I'm trying to tell a good story. I'm trying to tell a story that resonates and that lasts after I'm gone.
Oh my gosh, that really speaks to my heart what you just said, Jackie. Thank you so very much. I hope other folks, founders, whomever you are that are listening to Jackie share his remarkable story or taking that into your heart for your role here for the amount of time that we have you here. So Jackie, let's get into the whole, parts and pieces of, okay, figured out the recipe. How did you choose the bottle? How did you choose the name? I understand. Oh, go ahead.
There's so many different things. I designed that bottle. Again, having never designed a bottle before, I designed that bottle myself. It is the ideal height and weight for a bottle that is going to be either on the shelf or on a back bar. It is modeled after a cologne bottle from the 1920s. I own the patents on the bottle and I own the mold, so I don't have supply chain issues. The name is a variation on the original beverage it's made from, something called Sorel. It's called Sorel, specifically because I have a speech impediment. I can't pronounce the letters R and L. So for me, trying to say Sorel is like trying to say rural or terroir. It's an awful word.
Or for me, digital. I just get like...
So, because I had a speech impediment, I had 8 years of enunciation class in public school. Other kids got to go play. I saw a speech pathologist every day. And here's one of the things I learned. Words that end in a down sound are sad. You can be happy, or you can be happy. Sorrel is a sad word. Sorel is happy, and I can pronounce it. So it's literally called Sorel. So I don't sound like a dumbass every time I have to say the name.
Excellent. I love it. And the other thing, go ahead.
Also, I can trademark Sorel.
Yeah.
I can't trademark Sorel.
No, you can't. That's you cannot trademark an ingredient of something and a common name for something, like trying to trademark chowder.
Yes,
can't do
exactly.
It. And what I love, and folks, we've talked about this plenty of times, especially when we had Kim Roxy on the show talking about Lamique Beauty, her outstanding advice on the packaging. When you go to design something, first talk to people who are in the packaging industry, who are going to be involved with getting your products in boxes and on pallets and going places.
Can I share something you don't know? Yes. Because I just found out on Friday. On Friday of last week, my creative team won 8 awards in the American Advertising Awards for our branding and our packaging. 3 gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze.
Okay, everybody.
So, branding matters.
Yay! same team. Oh my
And consistent
gosh.
branding across all media matters.
Yes. Yes, it does. And there's on the website, folks, you can find all the cocktail mixes, et cetera. So, that's beautiful. When you said it needed to look like it belonged on the shelf, that's so important. I mean, yes, Patron, made it tequila, made a different bottle and gave it its own edge, but that's for a different experience. For Sorel,
All bartenders hate the Patron bottle. All of them. All of them. It's
because
like, because it's impossible to pour without creating carpal tunnel in your hand. The wonderful thing about a Sorel bottle is you can pick it up, and everywhere you pick it up from, the weight is evenly distributed. So it's meant to not cause physical strain when you need to pour it.
yeah. Oh my gosh. See, folks, these are the things that are so important. And I'm just going to bring up a picture of that bottle again. That is so, so beautiful. And
Thank you.
podcast listeners, when you go to the website, sorelofficial.com, you'll see it there. It's just gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. But you also had to find a partner. And that means you had to find the distributor. You had to find, well, of course, you found the mentor that helped you. Let's talk a
Yes.
little bit about that because, folks, you know that I'm a huge fan. Let me see if I can find, just ask. The answer is always no unless you ask. Reach out to the biggest person in the industry and ask, and work your way around and find out the folks who can help add wind to your sails and open doors for you. So you found a mentor that was specifically in the liquor industry?
Absolutely. He wandered into my door one day.
No.
2012, a gentleman in his late 60s wandered into my distillery in the summertime. He and I sit on oak barrels and talk for 4 hours over Sorel, straight out of the tank. And then he writes a little story about me in a blog called Booze Business. Turns out his name is Arthur Shapiro, and he used to be the chief marketing officer for Seagram's.
Oh, get out of town.
So he takes me under his wing and he teaches me sort of everything I need to know about how to actually run a business from the ground up. He was a fantastic mentor.
That just makes my heart sing with joy that you were, and again, folks, sometimes timing is everything. Being open and out there and knowing that you're just a channel for goodwill. And in spite of some of the obstacles you'll be facing and managing, that someone could walk in like this and say, I'd like to help. And you said, absolutely.
The obstacles are an opportunity. I tell my team all the time, limited resources does not mean limited resourcefulness. No matter what happens, we're going to look like we're going to work like each individual is a team unto themselves. And here's my favorite part, Andy, is we have a rule that I call the 95% rule. My job as a CEO is to be the craziest person I work for. If there's somebody crazier than me working for me, it's a problem. I come up with ideas. I throw it to my team. And then I go back out into a field and play. And my rule is, when it's 95% of the way done, let me know. I get the idea, I throw it to my team. I get back dates, time, cost of goods, marketing, media strategies. They do their thing and I trust them to do it. And while they're doing things that they love, I'm doing the thing that I love. I'm out in the field somewhere thinking what the next crazy thing I'm going to throw at them is. So for me, nothing works better than having a team that you trust, that trusts you too.
It's a symphony, right? Everyone's playing their favorite instrument and bringing beautiful music to the world.
They're great at what they do. Why would I interfere? Like they have those jobs because they're great. If they weren't great at it, so my job is only to make sure that they understand the ethos and they have the resources and the parameters, and then I get out the way and I let them do their thing. And all of them love what they do way more than I ever would.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. There are plenty of things that you can let go of, founders, that you have no busy worrying about them pesky details. Hey, I just want to, speaking of great people, I want to say a quick hello to Brent Manuel from Ottawa, Canada. He is our loyal fan. He shows up every show to remind everybody that diversity and disability deserves a seat at the table. They bring innovation, especially our disabled folks that have visible or invisible disabilities. They need a voice. They deserve a voice. They have so much value to add, and we're always happy to see you here. Thank you for joining us today, Brent.
So I have something I'd love to share, if that's okay, Ande.
Yes, love
And
that.
this is for you, Brent. When I started my company in 2012, when I got my license to make liquor, I was at the time the only Black person in America with a license to make liquor. Turns out I'm America's first legal licensed Black distiller on record. So I started teaching about systemic inequality a decade ago. And you can't just say, don't be racist. You must also say, don't be sexist, don't be homophobic, don't be ableist, don't be ageist, don't be anti-religious. You must have the most mosaic approach, the most intersectional approach to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Otherwise, you are actually perpetrating white supremacy. I teach this for several years, and I'm writing about it for all the magazines. And I ended up teaching a course in the liquor conferences called How to Build a Longer Table. I taught that course with the idea that if the people who were already seated at the table could see that it was statistically and anecdotally in their best interest to extend that table to people who weren't sitting there, then we would all benefit. Because you can prove this. Diverse companies make more money. I taught that, and it had data and sound and fury, and not a damn thing changed.
No, and that's because of the implicit bias. And we're going to be talking to someone on Friday who is using virtual reality to help people walk in other people's shoes to help improve that. But thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing all of that. Oh, go ahead.
There's two more quick parts to it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to a certain place. I stopped teaching that seminar. I started to teach how to build your own table, with the idea that it is easier intrinsically to build a table that is designed to be inclusive than it is to reform tables that are not designed for you. And I just got back from the Vibe conference in San Diego 2 weeks ago, and I taught the truer vision with my chief food scientist, who is a blind chemist, a blind PhD chemist. And we used our team as we exist now, the team I've built from the ground up, as proof of concept. We are Black, we are white, we are Latino, we are Pan-Asian, we are South Asian, we are straight, we are queer, we are abled, we are disabled, we are Gen X, we are Gen Y. We are what we wanted to prove. And we don't just tolerate each other's differences, we lean into them and depend on them. And that is what helps us succeed.
I got to tell you, 100% on all of that. That is phenomenal. And I just want to take a moment. A blind chemist?
Dr. Wedler.
Talk about that.
PhD chemist, master somm, born blind. His joke is he says he can see flavor. My joke is I say he's like Daredevil, but with booze. He took over being my food scientist at the beginning of last year. Under his guidance, my product costs less to make, tastes better, has a longer shelf stability, and has an easier to produce proprietary now process that no one else can duplicate. It's been fantastic. And so much of what we get is specifically because we have the perspective of someone who's not literally blinded by the ability to see.
Oh my gosh. This is wonderful and an outstanding example. Why, right, Brent? Why we need, why disability is innovation.
Absolutely.
And how you can create an even more outstanding experience, product, service, etc. when you have all types at your table, bringing their unique perspective and lived experience to your business. And what I hear so often out in the world is that, I'll do diversity after I get the business launched. No. You need to start day one. Okay. People do not have to look like you for you to feel confident you've got a good team. Yeah, Jackie?
Yeah, I was going to say the interesting thing about all of our businesses is we're dependent on community, but you got to invest in community before you need them.
That's right. And speaking of community, when you have a product, one of your most important assets for delivering it is your co-manufacturer.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So Laird's is located on One Laird's Road in New Jersey, and it's called One Laird's Road because they were there before the roads were.
Oh my gosh.
The Lairds are America's oldest distilling family. They're currently 10 generations deep. And if you go to the factory to this day, you will find at least 3 living generations of the people who made Applejack for George Washington.
Oh my gosh, this is like going to a vineyard in France. Oh my gosh.
But it's the best joke no one has told waiting to happen. A black man who's the first legal licensed distiller in America and a blind PhD scientist walk into a distillery that's 200 years old. Like, what's the punchline there?
I don't know. In New Jersey, by the way, okay?
In New Jersey.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. How did you find Laird?
So when I launched Sorel a decade ago, we made one of our first cocktails with Laird's Applejack, which is delicious and again has 300 years of history in this country. And the owner of the company, Lisa Laird, introduced herself to me that day, and we've been friends since. Now, this is an important thing I say. When we relaunched in 2021, we interviewed dozens of possible co-producers, and there were people that had very aggressive pricing structures, but Laird shares our values. They're about integrity. They're about longevity. They're about legacy. And it was knowing that we shared the same values that is what was the absolute nail in the coffin decision for them. Wouldn't do it with anybody else. Trust them. It's a funny thing as someone who was a craft distiller and literally made the first 30,000 cases myself by hand. I don't want to do that anymore.
I know.
Listen, this as much as
There's
they
no
want to glorify
upside to that.
as much as they want to glorify it, distillery work is hard labor. I'm so glad I'm not doing it anymore. God bless the kids that are doing it, but they're so good at this. They're so good at the whole process, and the level of trust between us. I say this all the time, and this is one of the most important lessons I think founders can learn. Don't do business with people who don't share your values, and it's so hard to live by that. I don't want to be the integrity police. Do whatever you do to get you ahead. But when you do business, especially if you take money from people who don't share your values, sooner or later that's going to end badly.
Yeah, definitely.
Like get the biggest overlap of values that you can get, but don't do business with people who don't share your values.
That's
it won't
right.
go well.
It never goes well. And for those of you who do have a product, a food or beverage product, be sure to check out the book, How to Take the Con Man Out of the Co-Man.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of roughly the title by William something or other. I can't remember his last name right now, but it's on Amazon. It's terrific advice because you need to first of all understand what you need from your co-manufacturer because they free you up. They've got all the equipment. You don't have to carry that on your balance sheet. You don't have to invest in those hard assets. And meanwhile, you can be out marketing like crazy, building production, increasing, scaling, all of that while they do what they do best. And this is why they're in business. But let me tell you, there's a lot of con mans in the co-manufacturing space. So you've got to be careful no matter how desperate you are, even if they say you're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
I love this.
Good partnerships are everything.
Yeah, it really is. And it's giving you the freedom. So you relaunched. Let's talk a little bit about how when you couldn't meet demand, that you had to slow down, you had to put it on pause. You had to have that moment like, oh, for crying out loud. How did you fill the space? How did you make that transition?
So the transition wasn't intentional or fun. The short version is I signed a contract in 2015 for millions of dollars to take the brand national, and they reneged. And then I got a second contract to final in 2016, again for millions of dollars, and they reneged. How long can a business go without money?
Nope.
So, yeah, so I was homeless for a year and a half.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I've got this. I had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Um, and this is an important lesson that I had to learn. You're not your brand. You have intrinsic, innate value. I have value whether the brand performs or doesn't perform. If the brand does well, great for the brand. It doesn't change my interview with myself. If the brand totally tanks, that'll be bad, but it doesn't. I don't lose value. My value is intrinsic and not innately related to how well my company performs. Important lesson that I had to learn. So I'm homeless for a year and a half. I have this distinct memory of snowflakes melting on my face in December of 2017. And that sounds idyllic, except I was outside in New York City in
Ouch.
winter. And my first thought, Andy, was not, I need to get somewhere warm. My first thought was, I have a deadline and my essay is due today, and I need to go charge my phone because if I miss my deadline, I'm not going to have money to get in my apartment. And strangely enough, one of the essays I wrote while I was homeless actually won Best Food Essay of the Year for the American Food Journalists. Um,
Come on, Jackie.
I'm telling you, whoever's writing my script is on those good drugs. My showrunners are insane.
That is the truth.
So the brand was off the market for 5 years. 5 years,
But
no sales.
you kept the trademarks current and patents
Kept
current?
I kept the trademarks current. I kept a handful of bottles and a handful of labels in storage.
Yeah.
And I kept the recipe in my head.
Yeah.
And the entire time I was homeless, I was speaking to some of the top people in my industry because everyone knows me and everyone knows the brand. And the consensus was, listen, kid, that's a great brand with a great branding, great track record, tons of press, tons of review. Good luck with that. Everyone was like,
Yeah.
and then in 2020, George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah.
And for like a minute, Black Lives Matter. And I got a call from a buddy of mine named Jeff Gardner, who used to be the restaurant critic for Esquire. And he goes, Jackie, do people know that you're America's first legal black distiller? I said, Jeff, no one cares. And he went, maybe people care now because Black
Right.
Lives Matter. And he arranged for an article to be written about me in Esquire. And suddenly there was renewed investor interest in the brand. So I'm at what I thought was the tail end of a negotiation deal with this investment group. And then they tried to change the language of our contract. And I did the thing that I'm super bad at and I'm still working on. And it's super hard for me. I asked for help. I had an acquaintance, I had a friend from the speaking circuit named Fawn Weaver, who is the CEO of America's fastest growing whiskey company and the most awarded whiskey of the last 4 years by far. And I wrote her a note and I said, Fawn, I've hit an impasse. I'm at a stopping point with my investment group. Can you offer any guidance? The next day we had a guarantee of funding.
Oh my gosh. And folks, I've known Fawn since 2010, 2011. When I was on this journey. She is that kind of generosity. She is that kind of show up for people. That is such a remarkable story. I need my tissues now. That is so wonderful. And folks, just so you know, Fawn with her Uncle Nearest brand whiskey raised over $100 million and none of it is VC. She went to wealthy individuals who were passionate about what she was building with her team.
Andy, you will love this. This ties back into what I said before. You cannot take money from people who don't share your values. As much as you think you need the money. Last year, I was asked to sit on a panel in one of the big conferences with a bunch of people who invest in my industry. The top 4 or 5 names of folks who signed the checks, and me. And each of these individuals specifically said what they look for when they invest in companies. And the moderator turned to me and he said, "What do you think?" And I'm sitting in front of a room full of entrepreneurs, and I said, "None of these people would have invested in me. Not one of them.
Yeah.
Don't listen to a word they say. Don't
What
listen to
happened
them."
in the room when you said that?
Oh, the audience was with me completely, but the people on stage were shocked. And some of them, as a newly funded brand with 4 billion media impressions last year, and with more than 40 gold or better awards in international competition, like I was the guy who could sit there and go, none of these people who write checks would have funded the most successful launch of the year.
Yeah.
Don't listen to them.
Man, I love that. Something fierce. Oh my gosh. Folks, I'm just taking all of that in because it's so important. And the hardest thing you'll say is no to money that you need when you need that oxygen badly.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
we have to find creative ways to locate and bring in the money as we find creative ways to keep our lean machine startup working and really putting funds toward the highest and best use for your brand. And I just want to do a quick shout out to Scroobius. If you need help in raising capital, please hop on to Scroobius. They have the most supportive founder support peer group. I mean, everything, but they will help you pull together the best pitch deck for you in the right way for the investors you want to attract to your business. As Jackie said, aligned with your business. Please use Ande15 promo code when you check out. It's like $20 a month, folks. Unbelievable. And Allison Byers, the female founder of this platform, is all about democratizing the fundraising experience.
Yes.
And this is what Jackie's talking about here. And it's a very diverse group that she has on her platform. It's all about underrepresented and underserved founders.
In a general sense, it's just you can prove statistically that women-led businesses fail less often. Why would we not fund them more often?
Well, and to me, the courage in that white privilege group that you were in to be able to just put a stake in the ground and say, none of these guys would have invested in me. So remember that required some audacity.
Audacity I've gotten in excess. That's not an issue, but it does not mean that when I get out there and like I will do a capital raise end of this year, beginning of next year. The amount of people who I've got access to, that makes all the difference.
That's right. Social capital.
It's everything. It's everything.
That social capital, and having someone like Fawn Weaver who opened the doors and helped make things happen. She knew that you would take that ball and run it right down the field and get the goal.
There's also being prepared. Can I share a quick story with you?
I would love that. Please go and glow.
So 2011, I am in the middle of creating all this business out of nothing. I get a call from a buddy of mine who's a VP at Hearst Magazines. He says, "Don't tell anybody we're buying another media company. There's going to be overlaps. There's going to be layoffs. Come back and work for me," he says. Mid six figures, corner office, 32nd floor, overlooking Central Park. I know in my heart I'm going to tell him no, but I take the meeting because he's a friend. We end up at this little burger joint on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. We're eating, we're having a good time. I reach into my bag, I pull out a bottle I've made in my kitchen. Because at this point, I don't have my license yet. I don't have my physical space yet. I've got my big ideas, and I'm sharing these big ideas with him. And as I'm telling him no, the person at the table next to me stands up and goes, "So are you looking for investors?" So I stand up, I shake his hand, I give him my business card, I tell him who I am and what I do. I reach into my bag and pull out a second bottle because I know be prepared. And I hand it to him and I say, "Please take this home and enjoy with the family. If you're still interested in investing after you try it, we'll talk later on in the week." And didn't even look at his card. The next morning, I'm looking at this card and I'm trying to figure out why the name Alexander Bernstein is so familiar. It's because he's Leonard Bernstein's son, who runs the Bernstein Foundation and became the first person who signed papers for us. You have to put yourself out there. And you have to be prepared.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps on top of goosebumps, and I'm having an Andelicious moment, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm a firm believer magic can happen when you're
Yes.
prepared. Luck is
Yes.
opportunity meets preparation. For those moments, you could not have ever had that in the script. People would say, "Oh no, that's going overboard."
I'm telling you, whoever my showrunners are, whoever's writing this stuff, they're on those good drugs, Andy. None of this stuff makes any sense.
I'm waiting for someone to do this the movie, for crying out loud. Oh my gosh. Jackie, this is, and so here you are today. Did I hear you say you got 1 billion impressions last year?
4.
4 billion. How'd
4
you do
billion.
that? Talk a little bit about your media game that you were able to get that kind of attention.
Storyteller. Stories are a human need, like food and water and sleep and sunshine. Your product or your service, whatever it is, there's got to be something that resonates with whoever you're trying to connect to. For me, for my company, Sorel is a vehicle by which we tell the stories of the people who couldn't speak for themselves. That is the primary focus. Yes, I'm in the P&L sheets. Yes, I'm in the marketing. Yes, we watch every dime. Yes, there are incentive programs. But at the end of the day, more people today know that my mother and my father and my grandparents and my great grandparents existed than did yesterday. They know their struggles, they know their history. And if the delivery method is a delicious beverage, it makes the whole thing a little bit better. It's not a spoon. It's not a spoonful of. It's not a spoonful of sugar. It's a shot full of Sorel.
There we go. And we know that, especially on your website, there's lots of ways to enjoy this beverage.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
folks, lots of delicious ways. That's cranberry, etc., on the right there. Oh my gosh. And so as you look back on the last decade, can we talk just a little bit about how you became a James Beard nominee? That's not easy to get, even just nominated.
So again, Andy, I'm broken in that I don't know what I can't do.
Right.
The joke I tell at this point is liquor is my side gig. I'm really a writer waiting for my career to kick in. I spent the last decade of my life writing about things that mattered to me. Wrote some fiction too. And when I was homeless, I literally wrote my way out of homelessness by writing for all of the publications I could. And as you know, like writing doesn't get lucrative until you get to a certain level. I started off writing for free. It's moved up from writing for free to writing for a quarter a word. Moved up from a quarter a word to $1 a word to now I'm at $5 a word. I wrote my way out. But again, being a storyteller is the most important thing. The story that I told in 2018 that won the American Journalist Food Award of the Year was about my grandfather's love of rice. And the story that got nominated for James Beard last year was about our family food tradition that we called Family Seafood Fest. And the motto is all the food you can eat and only the family you can stand.
We talk about being on the seafood diet here in our home. We see food, we eat it. I love that. But seriously, that's what won? Come on, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. See, and folks, these are the little nuggets. I'm always saying to the founders or anybody who listen to me, Jackie, that you always win when you launch a business, no matter what happens. And you're the perfect example of that.
I think the winning is in that you will learn things about yourself you will not find out any other way. It's like, that's who I need to be in order for this to work. Okay, there might be some adjustments involved here.
Oh, yeah. Some tweaking. And then you tap into parts of yourself you would never have known were there if you hadn't been forced to uncover them given the circumstances. It is so remarkable. And so, what does success look like for you going forward, Jackie? A lot of people talk a game, a mythology of what I call success in the startup arena. There's all this IPO nonsense, and all the being a unicorn means you've been successful. Anyone who listens to me knows that if you're happy in what you're doing and you can feed your family, hooray. If you can feed the community, woohoo. And yes, if you're called to do world domination, that's wonderful, but don't ever let anybody else define what success looks like for you. Jackie, what does success look like for you and for Sorel going forward?
I think it comes in layers. At the very core, success looks like joy. Joy is an actual KPI in my company. Like, the thing that I love most is how much everyone loves working with each other. Marketing understands sales, understands creative, understands operations, and everyone loves and respects each other in a way that actually it's a virtuous cycle instead of people tearing at each other. So for us, at the very core, there's joy. Uh, Outside of that, the next layer would be legacy.
Yeah.
I I had a reporter ask me last year what my number was, and I said I don't have one, and they called bullshit. And they said if someone offered you $1 billion today, what's real? You'd say no. And my response was, what price would you put on the suffering of my ancestors? Because we deserve our own legacy.
Right.
And it's true. And again, it makes it very hard to have a conversation with investors and go, what's your exit point? I'm building a legacy. Are you on board?
Which is why it's so key that you're with Laird. Laird is the ultimate example of legacy.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Outside of Sorel, Jack from Brooklyn at the owning company for Sorel is a concept that says there are other things out there like this. The beverage that became Sorel sat in the Caribbean for 500 years before I put in the bottle. How many other things out there like that out there right now waiting for someone to figure out how to make it shelf stable, how to properly market it, and willing as I am to find someone from that community that I can vest in the company so that I am not appropriating, so that I can actually give back and then introduce new flavors to the world. Andy, I will never do a vodka, a mezcal, a whiskey, a tequila, a rum. God bless the people that are doing that and doing it well. There are other things out there.
yes.
So, first joy, then legacy, and then how can I use these beverages as stories to share ourselves with the world?
Beautiful. I mean, sometimes, folks, our businesses do not have a price in the sense that that's not the journey we're on. And Jackie, I'm so grateful that you gave this example because so many people are, I always tell the story about Sarah Drusek
Right.
and oh my God, it begins with E, Ventures. She and her husband wanted to change their purpose in life was to change the GDP in Africa.
Huh.
So they thought, well, let's start a business, see if we can't get it up to a certain number, right? So 8 years they're at this business. They couldn't have picked anything more complicated. It's a glamp ground at all the major campground, national parks in North America. Okay, we're talking like all the hard assets, all the capital ever needed. But they, 8 years of hard work, raising babies at the same time, they sold for 110 million, packed their bags, moved to Johannesburg, and their goal is to, and this is what they are doing now, to invest in women-owned businesses and help them scale to 100 million in revenue each, and that will change the GDP in Africa.
Absolutely.
And this is, the same inspiration that I get with your business. The legacy, the influence, the being able to be out there in the world. So you are going to inspire another founder, a founder of color, a founder that's diverse or minority in some way, who was wondering, who am I? forget that. Who are you to not be pursuing this dream? Look at Jackie Summers, who had the script of somebody being challenged on every level and still coming out with ways to move forward and bring his vision and work to the world. Richard O's asking, where can we buy Sorel?
It's in 20 states at the moment. It will be in 35 states by the end of the year, but you can always get it delivered to your home at sorelofficial.com.
Right here, folks, SOREL official.com. You can grab your bottle, that gorgeous bottle, and you'll be pouring it up for yourself. And as you're drinking it, you know that it'll be feeling good on your body because it has so many wonderful nutrients. So it'll be giving you a buzz on every level.
Yes.
I love that. And so you've been at this over a decade. Entrepreneurship has taught you so much, but I'd love to know just a little more because I know there's more wisdom I can squeeze out of you in this short period of time. How has being a founder and an entrepreneur really served you? How has this journey added to who you are personally and professionally, if you were to just sort of bundle that up into a moment?
Oh, the only way this works is if I let go of who I was yesterday. The guy that started my company 10 years ago, listen, I'm grateful for that asshole, but I would not trust him to run my company today. The only way this works, the only way it works, is if I'm a better version of myself tomorrow than I am today. I'm a practicing Taoist, and the expression would be, when you let go of who you are, you become who you might be. So the stuff I was good at 10 years ago wouldn't serve me today. And the stuff that I'll need to do this 10 years from now, I need to develop right now. I need to get started. I need to continue to become, I don't know if smarter is the word, but more in touch, more compassionate. I need to learn how to let go better. I need to learn how to listen better. I need to tune in a way that resonates with the people who are buying this and really figure out the best ways of communicating. All of this is something I need to be better at every day. And while I appreciate the things I did in the past that got me here and who I am today, I'm not dependent on anything that I do today to get me to solve tomorrow's problems. Today's successes don't solve tomorrow's problems.
Okay, everybody. Yep. I mean, I could have done this a dozen times, but that's definitely a stitch that on a pillow.
You can't sit on your laurels. You got to be a better version tomorrow.
What? That's so important. This is why we're always up in your founder game here in the Startup Life Live Show, folks. So what hard thing are you really working on now that the Startup Life community could add wind to your sails or open doors? How can we find you and support you and make your journey a little easier?
The thing I'm working on right now is helping other people who might not have the same advantages that I have do well. So women are still tragically underfunded. It's a false multiplier if you are a woman of color. It's a 3 times multiplier if you are a woman of color who's queer. So I'm trying to use whatever platform I have to extend to others so that they can do the same exact thing. When we do well, I do well. And I think part of the problem that founders have is they're trying to achieve things by themselves that are accomplished in community. So I'm trying to make sure that my investment in community not just reaches, forward, but reaches back at the same time.
Oh my gosh, Jackie, I have to tell you, and listeners, viewers, right? I mean, I have so many timestamps on my notes here of video, quote, video, this, oh my gosh, how to build, a longer table. I mean, like one thing after another. I'm broken in that. I don't know what I can't do. One incredible pearl of wisdom after another. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your gems with us today. Any last thoughts before I pop you into the green room?
My grandfather would say, and this was drilled to me from the time I could understand words. He would say, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Till your good is better and your better is best." That's in my DNA. that is what you need to do if you're going to do this job. Like the last joke I tell, and then I'll let it go, is you got to be crazy to do this. But going crazy is easy. Staying crazy takes commitment.
Exactly. Staying crazy takes commitment. You heard it here, folks, from the one and only Jackie Summers, from Jack from Brooklyn, and that is the umbrella company that produces this gorgeous, beautiful Sorel Liqueur. Please go find it wherever it's located near you. If it isn't at a store near you, you go ahead and buy a bottle and share it, Google review it, do all the things to help add wind to Jackie and Sorel's sales, everyone. Jackie, thank you so much. I am so blessed
So
to know
much
you.
fun. Oh my goodness.
I know.
So much fun today.
I'm going to just take a few seconds to wrap up the show. So hang in there so I can give you a virtual hug, okay?
All right.
All right. Oh my gosh, everyone. My heart is full with joy from this conversation with Jackie. And I know I'll be taking it with me for years to come. I really have to go down to Brooklyn right now and hug this incredible man. Let's chat a little bit about who's joining us on Friday, March 17th at 12 p.m. ET. We're chatting with Dr. Aubrey Grant, MD, right there, folks. He's the co-founder and chief equity officer of Equity Commons, where he and the team are integrating a unique blend of cross-disciplinary research, cutting-edge technology, and established discussion-based learning to bring organizations highly effective and engaging approaches to address the complexities of implicit bias. Now, this is a guy who is a successful clinical sports cardiologist, right here at Harvard University, Mass General Hospital, with specialty training in advanced cardiac imaging. You know, what the heck is he doing stopping to be an entrepreneur? Well, we just heard from Jackie, you know, there's legacy, there's purpose, there's other missions we are called to do. And Dr. Grant is stepping up to it. We're going to have a delicious conversation with him. And how do you know? Whenever I post a new show, that's right, you have joined the Startup Live Meetup group. It's an easy way to get a quick announcement, not only when I post the new show, but I always send out a little boop, going live today at 12 p.m., just a friendly reminder. So I hope that you can join the team, the Startup Live Meetup group. And oh my gosh, I'm just going to say a quick hi. Ruth, love that you were here today. Thank you so much for making sure everybody feels so welcome. That's Ruth, everybody, who's the community manager, ambassador for the Startup Live show. And Richard O, you always add value everywhere you glow. And folks, I'm so delighted you tuned in and upped your founder game, because as our dear guest Jackie Summers shared, you got to do better. And I can't remember exactly about the be best, don't let it rest. That's what we're talking about here. So remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem. And as we say here in Boston, you're wicked smarter than you think. Until next time, I'm wishing you a delicious day everywhere you glow. Say hi to me online and tell me more about what you're doing and what you're building. Mwahs.